All right, yeah. Well, that I've done 2 videos on Quartzsite, and the last one I put up last night, and it got a lot more views than I expected. And so when that happens, because I've done YouTube channels before, and when doing a YouTube channel, like when that happens, it compels the commentator to feel the need to go into further explanation, because you can only say so much in 20 minutes, etc., etc. And so there's a lot of room for misunderstanding and false assumptions. It's all that. And so, you know, I don't know. A lot of people have never done a channel, but I have. And whenever I did one, it's always the same. I just turn the camera on and I just speak my mind. But anyways, because I got like 75 views on that last video. So, which I didn't expect that at all. And so it compels me to want to like go further into explanation and cross any T's and dot any I's and on it, you know. And I guess where I wanted to start, is going back to Mike Roth. I don't want to put a lot of attention on Mike Roth or put him on a pedestal, because neither of those things would be fair to him. But like the reason Mike Roth is kind of a I don't know how to explain. He's kind of like I suppose maybe a reference point or something. I think it's because, you know, I didn't know a lot about Mike Roth until what happened to me. And the story of what happened to me is very long. There's a lot of details. It's a very long story. And it's really unbelievable also. It's very unbelievable. And, you know, but again, like, if you know anything about psychopathy and narcissism, well, that's the whole veil of narcissistic psychopathy. Is narcissistic psychopaths do such extremely insane stuff that it would never even cross anybody's mind that somebody would do something like that. And so what narcissistic psychopaths do is so unbelievable that if it ever gets exposed, even just to, like, you know, some person or maybe a couple people, it's so unbelievable that nobody believes them when they say, dude, this crazy thing happened. And then nobody believes them because it's so unbelievable. But the thing is, with narcissistic psychopaths, the things that they do are so unbelievable that nobody would believe them. So my story of what happened to me in Quartzsite in October of 2022 is so unbelievable that it's kind of almost pointless to even talk about it unless I can gather up enough. You know, I'd have to have the smoking gun. The thing is the smoking gun has been there all along, but it's just nobody's willing to look at it, which is what's so frustrating, which is why I rail on about how there is no news media. Because if there was news media, people would be, you know, a little curious. They would be more observant. They would be paying more attention to what's going on if there was news media in Quartzsite reporting on stuff. And so that's, you know, and it literally would have prevented me a lot of pain and misery if there was already a standing news media in Quartzsite when all this stuff happened to me, because the media would have been covering it. Even if it's just a little article here or there, somebody would have read it and somebody might have had information, you know. I mean, all I'm doing is trying to protect myself. And like I said in my previous video, I don't even get involved in anything. I just want to be left alone, you know. And the only thing I'm involved in is the clean and sober community in Quartzsite, where I assist and support other addicts and alcoholics in recovery from drug addiction and alcoholism. And I've been doing that for 8 years, ever since I got here. And you can ask any of the other people that are involved in the clean and sober community. They know me personally because I've been hanging around with them for 8 years. And I was doing that for 15 years before I got here. The last place I lived, I was hanging out in a massive clean and sober community, and got to know tons of people, including business owners and CEOs of corporations, judges, like personal friends with these people. Even a international cybersecurity FBI agent is a friend of mine, you know. I like, and then everything in between, working class people, lower class people. Like, I've been I've been participating in assisting and supporting, you know, people with recovery from drugs and alcohol 15 years before I even got into Quartzsite, which was in 2017. And so naturally, the first thing I did when I got to Quartzsite was find the clean and sober community in Quartzsite. And I've been close with all of them ever since I got here in 2017. That's how I became friends with Stu Campbell and a bunch of people. And, you know, and all the people and the reason I'm saying this isn't to brag. It's just to kind of establish who I am, you know. I mean, I'm just a nobody like any and everybody else in this town. Whatever, you know. We're all special. It's just whatever, you know. But I keep to myself, you know. I worked for John and May my first year here, and then I got hired on with the Shira and Danny Duke the following year and worked for them for like 6.5 years. Got to know all those vendors at Prospectors Panorama right there, which is basically a part of Tyson Wells. You know, like, I know tons of people in this town. You know, Kimmy, the woman that runs the main tent. You know, I'm been friendly acquaintances with her for years. You know, and again, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying, like if you want to try to like figure out who I am as far as how credible of a voice do I have, you know, or am I just some tweaker dirtbag or what, you know? It's like I've been living here 8 years, you know. And I'm more close to the drug and alcohol recovery community here than to anyone else in Quartzsite. Those are the only people that I hang around with. Those are the only people I really want to hang around with. Because drugs and alcohol is drama. That's all it is. Nothing but drama. And I'm talking like extreme drama, like dead bodies, fire, arson, dead bodies. Like, I don't want nothing to do with dead bodies showing up mysteriously in the desert, and death threats and big fires and arson. I don't want nothing to do with any of this stuff. That's why I hang out with the people in the drug and alcohol recovery community in Quartzsite. And that's why I did 15 years before I even got to Quartzsite. That's just who I am. That's like probably the top #1 most important thing in my life, is my engagement with the drug and alcohol recovery community. And I've been doing it for almost 24 years now. So how I would end up getting mixed in this massive controversy surrounding Todd Minshall's death and whether it was a suicide or a homicide, and then a week and a half later, coincidentally, I'm getting death threats, and then my home burns down, and all this happening in 2 weeks. And I'm supposed to believe this is all just a coincidence. But there's never nobody's talking about, well, what exactly did happen? Did they ever find out whether Todd was murdered or not? And so I've had to piece my life together despite all this. I don't know, the other person who was supposedly a victim of that fire in October 15th of 2022, the whole town rallied around her, even the city council, and the whole town rallied around her, gave her a free, 50-foot trailer, hooked her up with a job. The whole town rallied around this poor girl, lost everything in a fire. What did anybody do about me? I was living there also. Nothing except for accuse me of the person who started the fire. There are actually people, long established people in this town, that were telling other people that I started the fire. And one of these people, unbeknownst to them, ended up telling one of my friends. And my friend said, whoa, you can just stop right there. He was in Texas when the fire happened. He'd been in Texas a week already. He was in Texas 2 weeks. He wasn't even anywhere near Quartzsite when the fire happened. So you can just stop right there. That's my friend you're talking shit about. And shut him up real quick. He never said that ever again, as far as I know. Never said that I started the fire ever again. But all these people in town were saying that, accusing me of being an arsonist and starting that fire. Meanwhile, one of the women on the town council was making a big to-do about it on Facebook Quartzsite chatter, and saying this poor girl lost everything in a fire, and we're going to do a GoFundMe, and let's get the whole town to rally around this poor. Meanwhile, me, I just get accused of the one starting it. Yeah, maybe if there was news media, somebody could interview me. And also interview other people who are saying I started it. Let's get it all on ink, all on black and white. So then when it comes out that I wasn't even here, then you can ask the question, well, why would you accuse him of starting the fire if he was in Texas? I mean, this is how insane this town is. Why would someone accuse me of being an arsonist? Like, why? Anybody gonna give me an explanation as to why anyone in this town would think that I'm a fucking arsonist? But, whatever, I guess people can just do and say whatever they want and never be held accountable for it, right? Anybody gonna apologize to me? Anybody gonna rally around me and talk about, oh, this poor guy lost everything in that fire back in October 15th? No, nobody's gonna step up, and why not? They did for her. She was a so-called victim of the fire, as I was. Luckily, I was out of town, because if I was here when it happened, shit, I'd have probably gotten framed for it and went to prison. The only reason I didn't is because I wasn't even here when the fire happened. You don't find all this a little suspicious? Well, I guess since it isn't, none of this is happening to you, it doesn't matter. Bad things only happen to bad people, right? Yeah. Bad things never happen to decent people. Bad things only happen to bad people. Unless it's some poor girl who lost everything in a fire, then the town council needs to make a public announcement and get everybody rallying around. This poor girl lost everything in a fire. I don't know. There was people that said that she started the fire. No, it couldn't be a woman that would start a fire. Only men do stuff like that, not women, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyways, going back to Mike Roth. Mike Roth is one of the only people that listened to my story enough and actually took it partially serious, because Mike Roth has seen all the insane shit that goes on in this town. 18 years or whatever he's lived here. and all the insane stuff he's seen. He's seen people get murdered, friends of his get murdered, and to this day they never found out who the murderer was. So Mike Roth has already seen all this stuff that happened to me, and that's why I went to him, because he seems to have a reputation of having really bad stuff happen to him, because for some reason this town seems to have it in for him. And some people say it's because Mike Roth deserves it because he's a bad boy and says poo-poo stuff. And then other people say the only reason they're coming after Mike Roth is because Mike Roth is the only person here that's trying to do anything about the corruption in this town. And after getting my home burnt down, that's directly regarding a mysterious death that has never been resolved, just swept under the rug, who else do I go to? Mike's the only one who has any experience with this kind of crazy stuff. Like, this is crazy. We're talking like psychopath stuff. I mean, like, imagine if my suspicions were correct, that Todd Minshall was murdered and I was getting death threats and my stuff burnt down because, whoever was involved somehow perceived me as a threat, that maybe I had some evidence or something, potential evidence, and so they just decided to come after me. I don't know. See, nobody cares about this, though. Nobody cares. Just like the cop that killed that guy at the Pilot gas station on Main Street 4 months ago. Nobody cares. Nobody cares to find out what are the details of that. The deceased's brother that actually lives in this town claims that the cop murdered him. Nobody cares, though. Why would nobody care that the brother who was a witness to it claims that the cop murdered him? Why would nobody care? Because he's not on town council. He doesn't have enough money for anybody to care about his story. The brother of the guy that got shot and killed by a cop at the Pilot gas station was there when the cop killed him, was witness to the whole thing, and he claims that his brother was murdered. It was an unjustified murder. Why is nobody? So whatever. But anyways, yeah, so Mike Roth is one of the only people that questions what goes on here. Everybody else just goes right along with whatever the official story is, which there isn't even an official story. There isn't even news media to put out any official story on anything other than camel rides. So what is the official story on any and everything that's going on? Is there an official story? It's all just rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns, right? And if it's not, oh well, what are you gonna do? What can you do? Just keep ignoring everything, and So anyway, so yeah, no, I am concerned. I'm actually concerned for my life. But I can either just do what everybody else does and not say anything, or I can speak out and say, what the hell is going on? That song. I can't stand that song. Yeah, so I am an ally of Mike Ross just because of this mere, fact that Mike Roth, Mike Roth is like a figure in this town that is trying to stand up against the corruption. And he's the only one. I don't see anyone else, right? And then coincidentally, they're always going after Mike. So who else do I go to? Who else can I go to? Some people were telling me to go talk to the police. And as I told you before, like, I have friends that are judges and CEOs and, all these prestigious people that would impress you if you knew who my friends were. But I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care. If you believe me or not, I don't care. but one of my friends does international cybersecurity for the FBI. And because of his experience, I called him when all this went down with Todd's death and then the fire and death threats and all. I called him and told him all this. And he listened quietly to the whole story. And when he was done listening, he admitted to me that he would have no idea what to do if he were in my situation. Like, he was just totally dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. And he asked politely if he could give me some advice. And I said, please, I need help. Any advice, I'll take, and tell me anything, what? And he said that he admitted that he had no advice for me other than one simple thing. Don't talk to the cops. This is a guy that does international cybersecurity for the FBI. The only piece of advice that he could give me when I described this whole insane situation that happened to me regarding Todd Minshall's death threats, and a mysterious fire that happened right after the death threat, a week after the death threat, that burned down a 4-bedroom house, a 2,000 plus square foot storage building, and the home that I lived in. All mysteriously, a week after I get this, what sounds like a death threat to me, sounds like a veiled death threat to me. And he admitted that he has no advice for me. He wouldn't know what to do. The only thing he could tell me is do not talk to the cops. And he explained the reason he gave me that advice is because of his job doing international cybersecurity for the FBI. He has close relations with top high level, some of the highest level attorneys. And based off of the knowledge that he's gained by being close associates with some of the highest level attorneys in this country, is why he gave me the advice, do not talk to the cops about it. Don't talk to the cops. And if you're asking why, it's because the cops don't care about finding out who's guilty. The cops only care about, getting somebody, they don't care. They just want to get somebody where it says they're guilty. Whether they're guilty or not, it doesn't matter. Because once they, because then they can look and appear as though they're doing their job, and then they don't have to investigate that anymore and so I would be entrapping myself by even talking to the cops. And this is the way it goes. So I can't even talk to the cops. So who do I go to? Mike Roth. Who else? Who else in town could I go to but Mike Roth? Who else in town has experienced this type of level of insanity other than Mike Roth? And if somebody listening to this video, besides Mike Roth, has had this level of insanity type craziness happen to him in the town of Quartzsite, please leave a comment or something. Please, because I know that I'm not the only one. I know that this is a common occurrence. Again, I've lived here for 8 years. I've seen enough weird shit in the 8 years that I lived here that I know that I am not the only one. Mike Roth is one. I'm sure there's other people that are here. If I thought about it, I could probably, But a lot of these people that have had it happen to them are too scared to say anything, because then they're going to be the next body that is found mysteriously dead out in the desert. So then everybody just hush hush. Nobody says anything because they don't want to be the next dead body that's found mysteriously dead out in the desert of Quartzsite. So I'm putting my life on the line even doing these videos. And part of it is in alliance with Mike. Like those few of us that are fed up need to band together and do something, or just leave. Get the F out of here. So anyway, the majority of people I talk to, they tell me that I need to let this go and that it was all just coincidence, and I need to move on, drink chamomile tea, read Hallmark uh, inspirational quotes and drink chamomile tea and get in the lotus position and, and just get real spiritual about it and stuff. Like most people, they're saying, don't talk about it. You need to keep quiet, remain silent, And Mike Roth was one of the only people that told me the opposite. He said, you need to keep talking about this. That was Mike Roth's advice when I told all this to him. He said, you need to keep talking about this. And this was 3 years ago. I can't not talk about it. I've got tons of videos where I'm trying to explain it. Because I want to write a book about it. I want to make a movie about it. If I made a movie about what happened to me, it would be a blockbuster movie. If the right director directed it, like David Lynch or something. But anyways, there is totally unbelievable stuff happening in the town of Quartzsite. And I guess you're either in the know or you're not, is the way it goes in Quartzsite. You're either in the know that this town is one of the most bizarre, it's just beyond measure. The insanity going on here. And I'm not trying, I just don't want to live in a town where murderers walk free and the police don't care and the townspeople don't care and nobody cares. I don't want to live in a town where cops are murdering people and getting away with it. Like, who would want to live in a town like that? But apparently the whole world is going to shit in an ass basket. You can't escape this. Quartzsite is, I've always said, Quartzsite is just a microcosm of the world. All this crazy stuff going on in the world, in Palestine, supposedly babies' body parts are flying all over the place in Palestine. Quartzsite is just a microcosm of all this global insanity. You get front row seats. Move to Quartzsite, you get front row seats to all this global insanity everybody's talking about. Come to Quartzsite, you get front row seats. But watch yourself, because you might end up, a casualty of it, It's interesting. But nonetheless, I agree with Mike Roth. People need to start doing something about this stuff. And ever since that happened to me, that's what I felt. So it isn't like I'm just following Mike Roth. I'm just looking for other people that are experiencing the bizarro world that is Quartzsite. Like, is anybody out there? Am I the only one? Are me and Mike the only ones? Right? Anyway, so whatever, man.